We're here with Matthew Adams, the president of the Ansel Adams Gallery, and of course, Ansel's grandson. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Big hullabaloo. So, what's the
Quite
story?
big.
What's the story about these plates, alleged plates?
Well, they found somebody was found to appraise them at $200 million, and now everybody's heard of them.
Holy smokes. Okay, so we were talking about this before. You've got some key points that disprove that these were in fact Ansel's.
I wouldn't say necessarily that they disprove that they were Ansel's, but they question the validity of the proof that they have.
Okay, and what are taking a look at those?
Well, let's start with the connection with Virginia Adams, Ansel's wife. The negative sleeves. The theory is that the negative sleeves were written on. The negatives were damaged in a 1938 fire. That following their rescue from the fire, that they were put into negative sleeves, numbered and marked, titled by Virginia Adams, or at least titled by Virginia Adams. Which would have been 1938 as that period of time. Virginia lived in Yosemite. She grew up in Yosemite. In 1938, she would have been 34 years old. She's an extremely well-read woman. Her library of California history runs into the thousands of volumes and has been actually donated to a number of different institutions. I was provided with 25 examples of the negative sleeves that Mr. Narsigian found, and they provided this to me this past year after a meeting with them in November, where I said, they gave me the evidence that they had, asked me what I thought. I said I thought that it was insufficient to claim that they were Adams prints. They subsequently sent me more information, including these copies and also Virginia's handwriting specimens that they were using. And in looking at these, there are multiple misspellings of common Yosemite place names.
I saw that.
Bridal Veil Falls, Veil spelled as in Vail, Colorado, rather than what's covering your face. Now, granted, people do make spelling mistakes. They don't make the same spelling mistake twice unless they don't know how to spell it.
Right.
And there are two different examples of Bridal Veil Falls being spelled the same way incorrectly. There are misspellings of Nevada Fall, there's misspellings of Glacier Point, Washburn Point, and for people who have visited Yosemite once or twice, they generally are going to know how to spell these names. And for somebody who's lived there their entire life, she's not going to make that kind of a mistake. That's not even looking at the handwriting itself.
Right.
That's just looking at, spelling. And then when you make a comparison of the handwriting, some of it does look similar. There's no question, but a lot of it doesn't look the same. And I think there are some key differences in how she writes some of her capital letters. With her capital V, Virginia, she writes it one way, flourish on the right. In these references here, the flourish is on the left. I'm not an expert. I think that's significant.
Okay. And then some of the other points were the numbering system that Ansel used is very different than what is on these sleeves.
Now, what we're looking at here is just a simple 4-digit numerical system.
Right.
And that's not Ansel's numbering system. Now, this is dated from we're theoretically dating this 1938, or shortly thereafter, after the fire.
Right.
And Ansel's negative numbering system was definitely in place by then,
Okay.
and he would have numbered them according to that system.
I think the biggest point that you made in your blog post is the fact that how would Ansel, who kept his negatives in a vault, in a bank vault, and only extracted them when he was going to print them, how would these 61 negatives get out of his control?
That I don't know, and I can't fathom that. I mean, particularly after the fire, Ansel was so concerned about fire and damage and loss of the negatives, knowing that that was his livelihood.
Matthew, so in summary, what's your take on this whole thing?
I think Mr. Narsigian honestly believes he has Ansel negatives, and he will believe that regardless of what proof or lack thereof there is. And it's there. He believes it to the core of his being, and that's certainly his right. But I don't think the facts back him up.
My take on it is that Ansel walked across a lot of cow pastures in his career as a photographer, and this sounds like the stuff that he stepped on the way to getting a good shot. Putting it mildly and crudely.
Yeah, I don't want to offend the people who are trying to do this. If they're trying to do it for the best of intentions, if they're trying to do it without the best of intentions, then I would say, you'll reap the rewards one way or another.
Yeah, I agree. Matthew, thanks for filling us in and giving us some insight into what's going on here.
Sure.
Okay.
Thank you.
You bet.